Imagine being in the center of a storm, winds howling, rain pounding, chaos everywhere. Yet you stand unshaken, untouched. This is the essence of inner peace. In Zen and Buddhist philosophy, it is more than an abstract ideal. It is a practice that anyone can cultivate. Inner peace isn't about eliminating challenges, but about transforming how we respond to them. Let's explore a transformative journey through a Zen-inspired story rich with practical wisdom. This journey will not only teach you how to remain calm and composed, but also help you find peace no matter the chaos around you. The starting point. Why anger holds us back. One of the most quoted teachings in Buddhism is this: holding on to anger is like grasping a hot coal with the intent of throwing it at someone else. You are the one who gets burned. While simple, this analogy captures the destructive nature of anger. Anger clouds judgment, breeds bitterness, and perpetuates suffering. Yet, why do so many of us cling to it? The answer lies in a lack of awareness. Most people mistakenly believe that anger punishes others when, in reality, it is the one holding on to it who suffers the most. Lesson 1. The bitter tea. A Zen master once illustrated this lesson to a disciple struggling with anger. He handed the disciple a cup of tea. After taking a sip, the disciple grimaced at its bitterness. "Why did you stop drinking?" the master asked. "Because it's too bitter," the disciple replied. The master smiled, saying, "Anger is like this tea. Many choose to drink it, hoping it will punish others, but it only fills their own cup with bitterness." This story teaches us the importance of awareness as the first step to liberation from anger. Recognizing its futility is the foundation for change. Next, the weight we carry. Understanding the cost of anger. The test of the stone. In another teaching, the Zen master instructed his disciple to carry a heavy stone everywhere he went. Each time someone angers you, hold the stone tighter, the master said. At first, the disciple managed well. But as days turned into weeks, the weight became unbearable. Exhausted, he returned to the master. "This stone grows heavier with every step," he said. "I cannot carry it anymore." The master nodded, saying, "Anger is no different. Each time you hold on to it, you carry an invisible burden. The longer you cling, the heavier it becomes. Let go of the stone, and you will feel light." This powerful metaphor shows how anger is not just an emotional weight, but also a mental and physical one. By releasing it, we free ourselves from unnecessary suffering. Next, a reflection of the mind. Seeing clearly, the mirror's wisdom. One day, the master took the disciple to a still pond. "Look into the water. What do you see?" "My reflection," the disciple replied. The master then stirred the water with a stick. "And now?" "Only distortions," the disciple said. "When your mind is calm, like still water, you see reality clearly. But when anger stirs your mind, it distorts your perception," the master explained. This lesson emphasizes the value of mental clarity. When our mind is calm, we make better decisions and see things as they truly are. But when emotions like anger take over, our perception becomes distorted, leading to poor choices. Next, the power of non-reaction. The gift you don't accept. In another tale, a traveler insulted the Zen master in front of his disciples. Yet, the master remained silent. Frustrated, the traveler asked, "Why do you not react to my words?" The master replied, "If someone offers you a gift and you refuse to accept it, to whom does the gift belong?" "To the one who offered it," the traveler said. "Exactly," the master replied. "Your words are like that gift. I do not accept them, so they remain yours." This profound wisdom teaches us the art of non-reaction. Not every provocation requires a response. By refusing to engage, you deny others the power to disturb your peace. Next, turning compassion into a shield. Understanding the source of pain. The disciple once asked, "Master, how can I remain calm when people deliberately hurt me?" The master replied, "When someone is sick, do you blame them for their symptoms?" "No, for they are not in control," the disciple answered. Likewise, when people act out of anger or ignorance, they are sick with their emotions. Respond with compassion, for they know not what they do. When we recognize that others' hurtful actions often stem from their own suffering, it becomes easier to forgive and remain undisturbed. Compassion allows us to see beyond the surface and respond with kindness instead of anger. As we delve deeper into the teachings of Zen and Buddhist philosophy, we'll uncover even more practical techniques to cultivate inner peace. From mastering stillness to embracing resilience, the next steps of our journey will guide you toward becoming unshakable and at peace with yourself. Next part, mastering the art of letting go and building inner strength. As the disciple continued his journey under the guidance of the Zen master, he began to unravel deeper truths about anger, its origins, and the power of self-mastery. However, while he had made progress, his path was far from complete. Each day presented new provocations, and with them, opportunities for growth. The lessons he learned next would form the foundation of his transformation into a person of unwavering peace. The weight of resentment. One morning, the master gathered all the disciples and handed each one a large bag of stones. "Carry this with you everywhere," he instructed. "For these stones represent your grudges, resentments, and unresolved anger." At first, the disciples found the task amusing. The bags, though heavy, were manageable. However, as the days turned into weeks, the burden became increasingly unbearable. The straps dug into their shoulders, and the weight made even simple tasks difficult. Eventually, the disciple, exhausted and frustrated, approached the master. "Master," he said, "this bag is too heavy to carry. It affects everything I do. How can I live like this?" The master smiled knowingly. "Then let it go," he replied. The disciple hesitated, realizing the simplicity of the solution. As he released the bag of stones, a profound sense of relief washed over him. "Why did I carry this for so long?" he wondered aloud. The master responded, "Resentment is no different. You carry it out of habit, believing it serves you in some way. But in truth, it only weighs you down. Forgive, not for their sake, but for your own." This exercise taught the disciple a crucial lesson. Forgiveness is not a gift for others, but a gift for oneself. Resentment ties us to past pain, keeping us from fully embracing the present. The illusion of control. One afternoon, the disciple observed the master tending to a small garden. As the master carefully pruned a bush, a strong gust of wind blew leaves and dirt into the garden. To the disciple's surprise, the master paused, smiled, and said, "Ah, nature has her own plans." Curious, the disciple asked, "Master, doesn't the wind undo your work? Why don't you seem upset?" The master replied, "Anger often arises from the illusion of control. We believe we can dictate the actions of others or the forces of the world. But life is like the wind, wild, unpredictable, and beyond our control. To resist it is to invite frustration. Instead, flow with it. Accept what you cannot change and focus on what you can." The disciple reflected on this, realizing how much of his anger stemmed from unmet expectations of how others should behave or how situations should unfold. The more he released this illusion of control, the freer he felt. The power of self-compassion. Despite his progress, the disciple occasionally found himself overwhelmed by his own emotions. On one such day, he confessed to the master, "I failed again. I let anger consume me. I am unworthy of this path." The master listened patiently and then asked, "If a small child fell while learning to walk, would you scold them?" "Of course not," the disciple replied. "They are learning." "Then why," the master said gently, "do you scold yourself for falling? Like the child, you are learning. Be kind to yourself. For self-compassion is the root of all growth." This moment marked a turning point for the disciple. He realized that inner peace does not demand perfection. Instead, it requires patience and kindness, especially toward oneself. Each misstep became an opportunity to learn rather than a reason for self-criticism. Facing the fire within. One day, the master gave the disciple a peculiar task: to meditate while holding a lit candle. The disciple sat quietly, observing the flickering flame. At first, he felt calm, but as time passed, the heat from the candle became unbearable. Finally, he blew it out. The master then asked, Why did you extinguish the flame?" "It was burning me," the disciple replied. "Anger is like this flame," the master explained. "When it burns within you, it is you who suffers. The sooner you extinguish it, the sooner you are free." The disciple nodded, understanding that anger, though natural, must not be nurtured. Instead, it should be observed and released before it causes harm. Practicing compassion toward others. One of the most profound lessons came when a fellow disciple acted out of jealousy, spreading rumors about the disciple. Hurt and angry, the disciple confronted the master, saying, "Why should I tolerate such disrespect? Should I not defend myself?" The master responded with a story. Once, a tiger was caught in a net. As it struggled to free itself, a farmer passed by. Instead of helping, the farmer threw stones at the tiger out of fear. Did the tiger deserve this treatment? No. But it was not about the tiger. It was about the farmer's fear and ignorance. The disciple realized that people's actions often have little to do with him. They are reflections of their own inner struggles. By responding with compassion instead of retaliation, he could rise above their negativity and preserve his peace, building emotional resilience. To further strengthen his disciple's resolve, the master introduced him to a practice he called the wind and the mountain. Each morning, the disciple would stand in the courtyard and imagine himself as a mountain, unshakable and grounded. No matter how fierce the wind blew or how heavy the rain fell, the mountain stood firm. Over time, the disciple found that this visualization helped him remain calm in real-life situations. When provoked, he would silently repeat to himself, "I am the mountain," grounding himself in stillness. This practice exemplifies the power of emotional resilience. Like a mountain, we can anchor ourselves in inner stability, allowing external chaos to pass without disturbing our core. The art of responding, not reacting. One day, the disciple encountered a man who criticized him harshly. Instead of reacting, the disciple paused, took a deep breath, and responded calmly. Later, he asked the master, "How did I manage to stay so composed?" The master smiled and said, "You practice the art of the pause. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space lies your power to choose. By pausing, you reclaimed your power." This lesson reinforced the importance of mindfulness. By creating space between an event and our reaction, we can choose responses aligned with our values rather than acting on impulse. The invitation to change. As the disciple grew in wisdom, he realized that the journey to inner peace was not about changing others, but about transforming himself. By letting go of anger, practicing compassion, and cultivating stillness, he became unshakable, a source of peace in a turbulent world. If these lessons resonate with you, take a moment to reflect on your own life. What burdens are you carrying? What flames are you nurturing? Remember, peace begins within. And if you're enjoying this journey of self-discovery, don't forget to subscribe to our channel, Buddhism in Modern Life, for more inspiring content. Together, we can explore the timeless wisdom of Buddhism and bring it into our everyday lives. Click the subscribe button below and turn on notifications to join our community of seekers. Next part, the final steps toward inner peace. The disciple had come a long way. He had learned to forgive, let go of control, cultivate compassion, and anchor himself in the stillness of the present moment. Yet, the journey was not over. The Zen master had one final set of lessons to impart, a series of realizations that would help the disciple complete his transformation and embrace lasting peace. Lesson 1. The mirror of relationships. One day, the disciple was meditating when another disciple interrupted him, complaining loudly about a disagreement they'd had earlier. The anger in the other disciple's voice made it hard for him to focus. He felt irritation rise within him, but remained silent. When the master heard of the incident, he asked, "What did you see in that moment?" The disciple replied, "I saw his anger, his impatience." The master shook his head. "You saw your own. Life is a mirror. It reflects what you carry inside." His anger merely awakened the irritation that already existed in you. If your heart were truly at peace, no storm outside could disturb you. The disciple realized that relationships often act as mirrors, revealing the unresolved emotions within us. Instead of blaming others for triggering his anger, he began using such moments as opportunities for self-exploration. Over time, he grew less reactive, approaching every conflict with curiosity instead of judgment. Lesson 2. True strength lies in vulnerability. As the disciple neared the end of his training, the master assigned him an unusual task: to share a personal failure with the other disciples during their next gathering. The disciple hesitated, fearing judgment and ridicule, but when the time came, he told a story of a time when anger had caused him to hurt someone he loved. To his surprise, the other disciples responded not with scorn but with empathy. Many shared their own struggles, creating a sense of connection and understanding. The master later explained, "We often think strength lies in hiding our flaws, but true strength lies in vulnerability, the courage to be seen as we are. When you open your heart to others, you allow them to do the same, creating space for healing and growth." This lesson taught the disciple that peace is not about building walls, but about breaking them down, both within ourselves and between others. Lesson 3. The power of gratitude. One evening, the master asked the disciple to write down 10 things he was grateful for. At first, the disciple struggled, listing only the most obvious blessings: his health, the teachings, the food he received. But as he continued, he began noticing smaller, often overlooked blessings: the warmth of the sun, the sound of birdsong, the kindness of a stranger. The master smiled as the disciple shared his list. "Gratitude," he said, "is the antidote to anger. It shifts your focus from what you lack to what you have. When your heart is full of gratitude, there is no room for resentment." From that day forward, the disciple made gratitude a daily practice. He found that it softened his heart, making it easier to forgive, accept, and find joy in even the simplest moments. Lesson 4. The cycle of renewal. One morning, the master took the disciple to a nearby river. Watching the water flow, the master said, "No matter how rough the current, the river does not cling to its past. It is always moving, always renewing itself." The disciple nodded, understanding the metaphor. "And so must we," he said. "Exactly," the master replied. "Each moment is an opportunity to begin anew. Do not define yourself by your past mistakes or emotions. Let them flow away like the water, and focus on who you choose to be in this moment." This lesson freed the disciple from the weight of his past, allowing him to approach each day with fresh eyes and an open heart. The final test. As the disciple prepared to leave the monastery, the master gave him one final test. "Go into the village and find someone who angers you," he instructed. "Then return and tell me what you've learned." The disciple wandered the village, encountering many people: a merchant who tried to overcharge him, a child who mocked his robes, a drunkard who shouted insults. Yet, to his surprise, none of these encounters stirred anger in him. Instead, he felt compassion for the merchant's greed, the child's immaturity, and the drunkard's suffering. When he returned, the master asked, "What have you learned?" The disciple replied, "I have learned that anger only arises when I allow it. When I approach others with understanding, there is no space for anger to grow." The master smiled. "You have passed the test. Remember, the world will always test your peace, but the choice to hold on to it is yours alone." With the master's blessing, the disciple left the monastery, carrying with him not just the lessons but the essence of inner peace. He realized that peace is not a destination but a way of being, a choice we make moment by moment, regardless of the circumstances. Wherever he went, he became a source of calm and inspiration, showing others through his actions that it is possible to live without anger, to forgive, to accept, and to love unconditionally. The story of the disciple's journey is not just a tale. It is an invitation. Like the disciple, we all face moments of anger, frustration, and pain. But within each of us lies the capacity for transformation. What steps will you take today to let go of anger and embrace peace? Will you forgive someone who has wronged you? Will you practice gratitude? Will you pause before reacting and choose a response that aligns with your values? Remember, every journey begins with a single step, and as you walk this path, Know that you are not alone. Together, we can create a world filled with compassion, understanding, and harmony. Thank you for reading. If you enjoyed this story, please consider subscribing to Buddhism in Modern Life for more inspiring lessons and practical wisdom. Let's walk this path of transformation together.